Okay, Tony, we have Lisa and Thomas and yourself participating remotely. So when you're ready to gavel us in, we'll just need a motion for participation after that.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. And as David said, we'll need a motion for remote participation for the three of us.
So what we'll need, board members, is one motion that is choosing A here, medical condition for Tony and Thomas, and then a separate motion for D for Lisa, and it's family vacation, the specified reason. So whoever would like to make that motion, I'm sure Tony would entertain it.
I move that the trustees listed below request to attend today's meeting of the JMRL Board remotely due to a temporary or permanent disability, or should I just say a disability or other medical condition that prevents their physical attendance, and a personal matter, specifically family vacation.
Thank you. All those in favor attending?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Thanks, everybody. Welcome, everybody. And as David said, thanks for coming a week early. Let's take a look at the minutes from the November meeting. Any comments, questions, suggestions, additions? If not, can I have a motion to accept them as they were presented?
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. We have our usual time set aside for announcements first, and then we'll go to public comment. Any announcements? Is this thing on? Hello, hello, hello. All right, public comments. Do we have anybody? I don't see anybody in the room. David, do we have anybody online?
There's nobody in the room. If any of the attendees would like to speak, you can use the raise hand function in Zoom now to be recognized. Tony, no public comment.
All right. So we'll move on to our trustee continuing education. Today with us is Ginny Reese, branch manager at Greene County, going to talk about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Ginny, it's all yours.
Hi, my name is Ginny Reese. I'm the Greene manager, and I'm here to talk to you about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. This is kind of what it is, how it works, and also because my friends group is Greene got it started in Greene, kind of how that happened. So Dolly Parton Imagination Library is a book gifting program. It's for ages birth up to the child's first class. It's meant to foster a love of reading in children and promote early literacy by providing children a home library that goes over and over again. So Dolly Parton has said, this is kind of nice, the seeds of dreams are often found in books. What Dolly Parton Imagination Library does is they mail a free quality hardback book each month to every child that signs up for the program. Amazing. And this is without regard to any income level. So I'm gonna call this DPIL from now on because it's kind of a mouthful. So DPIL is the flagship program of the Dolly Parton Foundation, and it was started locally in Dolly Parton's home county in East Tennessee in 1995. She is motivated by her own family situation and said of her father that he was the smartest man that she ever met, but she knew that his lack of ability to read limited his accomplishing everything he wanted to do in life. So you've got some handouts there. This first page that you see right on top is a list of the books that each child would have received in 2022. based on the group that they're in or their birth year. And I'll just tell you that we, in preparation for kickoff of the for the Imagination Library, we ordered with our branch discretionary fund a copy of every single book that we didn't already own, and we made a book display of them so that people coming in could see. And we were just so that came. So I'll just tell you, they're really quality selection. So each individual gets a book from their book club book group determined by their birth year. And then on the second page of the handout, it just shows you what the selectors for the Imagination Library are kind of trying to do by you. And then on page number 3, you've got the 2022 annual report of the Imagination Library, which it just kind of shows you which state what have full, highlighted in this annual report. You can subscribe to a newsletter on the Imagination Library website where you can get a monthly update about what's happening in different states about the Imagination Library. So this just gives you some information about 2022. And I just wanted to point out that this July, the budget that was signed by our Virginia governor did provide state funding for 50% of the Imagination Library in Virginia. So if an area has qualified to be an affiliate for the Imagination Library, whatever their costs are, state government now pays 50% of the cost. So their costs are reduced by 50%. So that's pretty huge if you're trying to do this in your local area. And then the next page in your handout kind of shows how the Imagination Library works. DPIL has good information on their website about considerations for and steps to starting the Imagination Library in your geographic area. And they offer consultations with a regional about what would be required and how you would do that. The very first requirement for a local affiliate is that you have a 501c3 organization, and that nonprofit status is necessary in order to get the bulk mailing set up. The book mailing thing, it costs money to mail books, so you have to get that special status, otherwise it really just wouldn't work. You have to fill out a form and submit that to the office. And this handout kind of shows you what the partnership is, what the local affiliate does, and what the Dollywood Foundation does as a background. So the Dollywood Foundation covers overhead costs, and that includes the book order, or they call it the BOS secure database. That's the database that has the kids' names and signed up with their addresses, pages, contacts, basically emails like that. And that's a secure system. They coordinate the book selection and the book ordering and fulfillment. And their partner for getting the books is Penguin Random House. So all the books for Imagination are too. And so then the responsibility of the local affiliate is to get kids signed up. And also to do fundraising if needed. So whatever that encompasses, stuff, okay, have some work. And then DPIL requires local affiliates to have estimated expenses for their first 3 years and the bank upfront before the program goes live. I think it's really more like 2 to 3 years. I'm not absolutely, don't quote me on that, but you have to have money up front so that they know that when you start this program and get people excited about it, signed up, that you don't run out of money and keep going. And those expenses are based on the census data for the area that's being covered and also the expected rate over the first 5 years. And so the website has a page where you can go in and get an estimate. And so the fact that the Dollywood Foundation covers all of these overhead costs allows fundraising within the local affiliate to go completely for the actual cost of the books and the actual cost of That's what the local affiliate pays for, is those two things. And the cost is right now $2.20 per child per month, $2.20.
Is that before or after the state?
So that's before. You know,
So it's one-
that- yeah, so it's half that now in Virginia. Just so how DPIL is funded and who steps up to be the local affiliate is different in every area or county where it's set up. So affiliates might be a local service club, a library friends organization, the United Way, a local community foundation, school district, or a nonprofit set up expressly for DPIL. And in some areas, there's a single donor who has stepped up and funds this. In some areas, the cost may be partially or fully covered by the state, or there might be fundraising that's ongoing in a community with a lot of partners involved.
I know you're reading.
Yeah, so as of the last quote that I had from the president of our Green Friends organization, it was 243, which is way ahead.
And that's 0 to 5, so,
Yes,
so even if somebody doesn't start at 0,
you can enroll a child at birth.
but at any age.
Yeah, and we had people in Green that signed up and got one book and aged out.
So do you, is the enrollment rolling enrollment? It continues on. So how do you estimate then what your expenses would be to how much you should have in the bank before you begin?
Well, they tell you, so we were advised that we would need to have about $10,000 in the bank in order to do it. You know, that's not a hard figure, and
So they help
that,
you.
yeah,
I
just
think-
the people who are advising us, that's the information.
They use census data.
You
Yeah.
can probably figure out,
But
but you could
you can't
end
know
up having a large influx,
You
Green
could.
County could build in the,
People move out of the area and then they're in someone else's area, so all there's flux and throughout the whole time. So it's just an estimate.
What happens if they do move out of the area, they no longer qualify to,
Yeah, so.
they don't,
Yeah, they have to keep their address updated in that database. And if they move to a new area, they got to check their zip code and see if there is an affiliate in the area. And if they have the Imagination Library provided. If not, they don't have it. So it's definitely the affiliate covers whatever their local area was covering at the time. And I think usually it's like this. Yeah, and so the way the Imagination Library got started in Green is we had a person who works with a local nonprofit called Quick Start Tennis, which is a nonprofit that works with elementary school kids to teach them to play tennis with special equipment. They don't need very much, but they've also branched out into reading and healthy, nutrition for kids. And so this local person has this interest, and she is really trying to get all of Virginia to have the Imagination Library. And I really can't tell you counties have it, which don't, but I think find that out by reading some of the bulletins on the website. So she approached my local friends group. I think she knew we had 503 status. And so the members were very interested. It sounds like a very inspiring thing to do, but they were worried about the fundraising goals for this small group of elderly people, basically, in my friends group. And also that the maintenance costs would be too high for such a small group. However, we have a really strong president right now, and there were a few people that really wanted to do it, and basically everybody agreed to do it based on their confidence. There was also one director who said really early on that this is a campaign that we could get support for in Green because Dolly Parton herself is so beloved, and she crosses the political divide that we have in this country. Everybody likes Dolly, and she felt like, which has kind of seemed to be true, So an early step maybe for, for communities trying to decide whether to do this is to use the cost estimate of the DPI. And so, that page showed that we had 1,109 kids under age 5 in green. And DPIL uses 65% as the likely projected registration by year 5. So that's how they come up with the amount of money that you would need. And so in my group, there were a number of people in the community that were already interested in bringing an education library degree. There was a preschool story from another, and she had a big Facebook presence. She was getting people excited about it. And then we had a couple retired reading teachers, preschool reading teachers get involved. We had this interested nonprofit person who continued to, help raise money and to attend meetings. This group of interested people morphed into a steering committee, which met about every other week throughout the summer and fall. And my friends group actually voted to do this sometime. So there was a local corporate grant for 2,200 that came in early on, and then there was a donor that this interested person found who first offered a $4,500 matching grant and then later raised it to $10,000. Of course, that was huge for a group. And one of the retired teachers is married to a fundraiser, and she started a local letter writing campaign that really has really amazing for that sort of thing. And then there was a Dippin' for Dolly fundraiser at the local Maybells, and that brought in $1,000. So, just little by little. So as of the present date, the group has raised $27,185. And about 22% of eligible children are now registered. And so Greene County and its zip codes went live just before an October 24th kickoff that we had at the library for DPIL. So it was kind of like touch and go. We were waiting for the post office approval for the bulk mail, and literally 15 before this. We had already had the whole event planned, but it hadn't dropped. So it happened just in time. And so then I'll just tell you of just briefly some of the nitty gritty things that any group that wants to have this happen would have to be on. So the Friends president handled the application, and that involves really careful reading of a very long and detailed contract that the 501c3 has to sign in order to be approved. And there's a really detailed style handbook that's like 25 pages long, because DPIL is an important brand, and so it's all spelled out what you can do and stuff that you send out, any promotional materials or publicity that you do. The bulk mailing permit took 6 weeks to process, and a lot of supporting documents had to be sent in for that. We had to set up a PayPal account for the Friends of Greene County Library so that there could be a donation button on the page where people would sign up and read, so that, because some people whose kids are eligible to get these books probably can afford to pay for their own kids, and maybe it would other people who couldn't afford to also. Let's see. And then the Friends of Greene County Library had to register with the State Department of Agriculture and Consumers in order for the Friends to be able to legally solicit to raise funds for DPIL. It's something we found out before we tried. And I say we, I mean Friends president, not me. Don't ask me.
Yeah.
She found this out. So she wanted to make sure this is all done legally, which is good. And then a lot of types of publicity were needed, as well as meetings with local service organizations, the local chamber of commerce for potential support. A Greene County Facebook group had been set up. We needed contacts and meetings with local school officials, the VPI preschool program, and Head Start. Those are kids that you really would like to get signed up. And there were regular steering committee meetings about every other week in order to keep everyone informed on the page and kind of like corral this group of people that were working on this. And so all of that stuff needs to continue, all of that publicity in order to continue to get kids that you want enrolled, get them involved, and also to continue to raise the state. And the local affiliate has to actually, whoever it is in the group that's going to be responsible, has to actually approve each registration. Make sure it's right, the code. And they also have to give out contact information to answer questions from parents who have questions about their accounts or about receiving or not receiving books, that kind of thing. And then also if someone moves and doesn't leave a forwarding address and the post office tries to deliver the books and they can't be delivered, then your local affiliate has to come to the post office and pick those books up. There's a lot of little details like that. But anyway, you know, from my point of view, this is good on a number of levels. It's a great resource for families of young children in Greene County. I think the people that have been involved feel a sense of pride about making this happen. And that the Imagination Library has the potential to grow readers, perhaps change lives in that way. And also, from my point of view, it has the potential to grow users within the libraries. People become stronger readers, little kids become more interested in books. That translates into more business for the public library, which is always a good thing. And also, I felt that this program would be good for the Friends of the Greene County Library in helping us to attract some younger people, some new people, which is kind of a difficult thing to do. And that's important to me because this local Friends group contributes a lot to my library. And then I think that having a local Friends group involved in this kind of activity really reflects well on the library and helps raise awareness of the library. Win. Are there any other questions?
When you look at the demographics for Greene County, if parents don't sign up, do you all go out to solicit those who may qualify for the books?
Yeah, so we have talked with the local BPI preschools about working with a social worker that works with those families to help get those kids signed up, and attending teacher conference nights to help parents to know about this program. Signing up is really easy. Like you could do it on your phone. It only takes a few minutes. You don't have to give very much information. So it's pretty easy. The trick is getting people to know about it and to just realize what this could mean for this child. And the Friends president told me that in looking at the areas in which the children were already involved, it does look to her like some lower income neighborhoods. It's not a very good response so far. So yeah, if you know, Friends is interested in reaching the children who might need this, then you'd have to figure out some strategies. And you know, from my point of view, this is all good for the library too, because if my Friends group is going to be there trying to sign parents, get their parents to sign their kids up for the Imagination Library, I can also be there with a laptop to make sure that those families have a library card for someone. So, good opportunity.
But ultimately, you don't have a list of here's the 1,000 kids and their contact information to go
No.
reach them directly. It has to be this sort of indirect publicity type of effort. And
Yeah.
you're doing it in a targeted way for sure. I think
Yeah,
that's
there's no
the challenge that you
Yeah.
have. It has to be indirect somehow.
So do you actually have like flyers about this in the library, or do you used to have like sign up times at the library? Like when this group comes and does it, or like
No.
they do their outreach?
We just had that one kickoff event, and the library was a natural location for it because friends of the library group is doing it, and, you know, I have a vested interest in getting more people into the library all the time. We did do some registrations that night on our case that we probably only signed up about 25. So, you know, it's just little incremental. Yeah, so there will be another steering committee meeting after the holidays and try to decide. But it's constant.
Seems like once you make connect with a family, there might be siblings, you know, younger siblings that now the family is sort of.
Sure, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, if you're talking to, you know, parents of preschool children or kids coming up, you know, I'm sure we'll connect with the Youth Development Council in Green because their kids are too old for these books, but they have siblings that
Right.
could benefit.
I wonder, do they work through the pediatrician offices, the health office?
So I've been told that there's more than one type of affiliate, and one type of affiliate is a third. So then you would work with local hospitals to get every parent who had a birth in your area to be given information about that.
That would make sense, and
So, yeah, I'm not sure that,
especially because the early shots.
Yeah.
Got their a little package deal.
yeah, I mean, you know, so we could have information definitely at the health department. So that's just all. We do.
You have to question whether they're in Greene County, stuff it in their bag. All the other information.
You said there was a specific advocate, I didn't catch her name, who brought this to Greene County.
Yeah, her name is Linda Harrell, and she works with Quick Start. She has been in one myself, but she's advised us. She's in close contact with people at she knows.
So has she or you considered making a presentation like this to the JMRL Friends group? I mean, it's assuming they could be a potential, there could be a potential.
They have
connection.
discussed it in the
Yeah.
past. The thing is that, well, one, it's, I think they thought it was too large of a project for 5 jurisdictions. The other is that Charlottesville and Albemarle is already covered under an affiliate with the Rotary Club.
Oh.
So Charlottesville and Albemarle already, since 2015 in Charlottesville, and since 2021 in Albemarle, kids that grow up here can get books
So they
from
don't
them.
know that.
I don't know what they know.
Through
but,
this program or through a
yeah,
similar program?
Through Dolly Parton Imagination
So it
Library.
sounds like so someone like the Friends,
Yes.
it sounds like sounds like Green is being very
Yes.
proactive about
So-
the outreach, and maybe these others are not.
JMRL is interested in working with Linda Harrell and with the Rotary Club to help have events, you know, like that. We discussed, I talked with Linda about having like maybe a graduation event where the kids go from 5th grade into, you know, the 5th grade, 5 years old into school, kind of a transition. Like now here's the whole library for you because you're not going to get the books at home anymore. She suggested somebody dress up as Dolly Parton. And I'm looking.
Yeah. But is there any reason, I mean, I know as a library, we have many messages that we're trying to get out about our own services and so forth. It seems to me that we could choose to have a flyer about this opportunity at Northside, for example.
Yeah, I think one of the stumbling blocks is that so Ginny is the first library tangential organization to be involved with this, and it's been a tremendous amount of work for Ginny, so congratulations, and I commend Ginny on this. But of course, it was the Friends that did all the work and whatnot, so we're very interested in seeing this in all across the region because it's one of those rising tides, all boats type things. So I'm working with Susan, and we're talking with a nonprofit group that is, it's a regional nonprofit group that is not interested in the capacity to do this region-wide, but would focus on Nelson. And then Ophelia and I will be looking for probably a 501c3 partner in Louisa to do this. So once JMRL can say everybody in the JMRL
Has an
region
affiliate.
has an affiliate.
Then
Right now,
the
it's only
strategy.
3 of the 5.
And the program, I think you were talking about the Rotary program, that's for all kids who are in kindergarten in Charlottesville and Albemarle.
Well, the one I'm talking about specifically is the same thing, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. So it's birth to age 5. And they can get 12 books a year, 1 book a month shipped to their
Well,
home.
that's what they have, what I guess my statement wasn't clear. They have some other program that starts in the public school.
Like transitions.
Transitions.
Yeah, that's great.
That they're part of Dolly, but
Yeah.
they do give them books throughout.
Even after they're aged out of the Dolly Parton one. That's great.
Yeah, there are lots of programs that are giving away books. The Imagination Library isn't the only one, but it's a really well organized one. It is a hardback book, a lot.
Yeah.
There's a
they would
lot
be
of
very
smaller.
expensive.
And they
And
go-
their organization covers all this overhead, so, you know. I
One of
mean,
the things that go into a home where there might not even be a magazine or a book or newspaper.
yeah, having a home library, I think everybody recognizes that's good for kids. And, you know, we want kids to be signed up for the Imagination Library. We also want in the library. One doesn't, you know, preclude the other.
Well, one thing I'm hearing is that kids in Charlottesville and Albemarle already have access to this. It's just a matter of the outreach that you're, you know, as you're
Yeah.
pointing out, to that they know about it.
Yeah, I'm sure our new children's supervisor is gonna wanna, yeah.
Yeah.
I never heard of it before this woman came to our meeting.
Was advertised.
Local celebrity.
So even if your organization, even if you have an affiliate in your local area, if nobody knows about it,
Yeah.
you can do like this. You have to get out.
Well, Dolly did come to the kickoff.
Yes.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have.
in the paper.
We have a stand up with Dolly that lives in my office because she's a little alarming if you just. We'll, you know, we'll have her out periodically, I'm sure. She'll get out of my office.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do that.
Me a little bit, and it goes towards a book.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Jenny.
sure.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you.
Good.
All right. Up next, committee appointments and reports. David, want to give us a regional agreement review committee report?
Yes, so I mentioned this last month as well. It's time for the 5-year review that takes place between Charlottesville, Albemarle, Greene, Louisa, and Nelson of JMRL's regional agreement. That group met for the second time on last Friday, the 16th. The focus of that discussion was on the out of area fee, which prior versions of this board are on record stating that they would like to see removed. It's the fee that JMRL charges to people that don't live in Charlottesville, Albemarle, Greene, Louisa, or Nelson. It is written in the regional agreement as of the 2012 regional agreement as a way to recoup costs at that time from those jurisdictions. Generally, there was some support there, but they're looking for more data. So the proposal they're discussing would be to remove out of area circulation from the picture when calculating regional and shared costs. So if you remember when we looked at the budget last month, there were percentages at the top there of usage. We'd be basically removing the checkouts from the people who live outside the area from those calculations. So I am going to redo the last few budgets with that calculation change to show the impact to them, what it would be based on the last few years. The biggest change would be between Charlottesville and Albemarle. This is really a minimal impact to Greene, Louisa, and Nelson. Charlottesville currently doesn't receive any funding from those fees. It all goes to Albemarle, but also all the circulation is counted towards Albemarle. So that's kind of the big decision-making point there. It's under a 1% change though, and the most dramatic of those changes. So if that isn't a barrier for any jurisdiction, this regional agreement review committee may begin work on an amendment to address the out of area fee. But that remains to be seen. And that's my report.
Well, that's encouraging news, and I think we'd all like to see it go away. If we make that happen this time, that'd be great. Mike, policy committee report.
The policy committee met today, and upfront, I'll tell you, we don't have any new drafts to recommend to you today. We continue to discuss the public comment at library board meetings, 1.261. You do have a draft, kind of a prospective draft of that in your handouts, but we made some other changes today through discussion, and there's 1 or 2 pieces that we want to get some legal review. So we are not going to have this first reading today. We're going to table that until it will likely be after the next policy committee meeting in 2 months. We would have a revised version for you to look at, and that would be the draft that we would end up recommending. So today, the red line handout is just a rare behind the scenes look at the in progress work of the policy committee, but it's nothing for official action today. We also discussed policy 2.1, the public employees code of ethics. This is our current version is adapted from an old version of the City of Charlottesville employee handbook. There's been recently a new version of the City of Charlottesville employee handbook that's been published, and we're sort of reconciling the two. I think what we may end up recommending is that we don't publish our own adapted version of this, but that it's kind of covered in the employee handbook, and that we have a statement that for the public that our employees are governed by the City of Charlottesville public employees ethics. So that's a preview of where I think we're likely to come down with, again, probably at the next meeting, after the next meeting in 2 months. But there are a few, we're waiting for some other pieces. So not ready to bring that to you today. And that is, that's where we are.
Any questions for Mike? Or I should have asked for questions about David and the regional agreement as well. Okay. Under new business, we did have the potential first reading of the policy Mike just talked about. We're not going to do that. So we'll go on to number 2, which is the budget update.
Okay, so I am in the process of trying to arrange meetings with all 5 jurisdictions, in which I will ask at least one trustee to accompany me to sit down with the, usually it's the staff from the city or county there. So hopefully we'll get those in within the first few weeks of January. I'll be in touch if you haven't already heard from me. Otherwise, I haven't heard anything back I submitted the draft budget that you all approved last month to all 5 jurisdictions with a little bit of information about what the increases were for and you know what their obligations are and what next year looks like. I have not heard anything back yet. I expect I will soon. The only news that I do have is that the City of Charlottesville has released a draft 5-year capital improvement program budget that covers fiscal year 24 through 28, and that does not include a renovation project for the central library. So we had some small hope that the city would include that and we could bring it to Elmore County and try to start talking about fundraising to supplement that. So I will continue to work with staff and elected officials there to see if we can make it work. But the program that they are publicly discussing doesn't include the central library. It is chock full of a lot of other needs.
Okay.
I have just a comment, Dave, and that is because I wasn't at the last board meeting. Thank you for taking over and
Oh, you're welcome.
reporting on the budget after we had our budget meeting, and all the folks on the budget committee who participated. I didn't get a chance to thank you. I wasn't here. Stay now. Thanks a lot to the whole entire committee and David especially.
Thank you for running the committee.
Okay. Donation for the Crozet Library, for the Crozet Library Fund at the Charlottesville Albemarle Community Foundation.
The Crozet Library staff recently received a check that there are 2 things that JMRL can do when people want to make a donation directly to JMRL and not to the Friends of the Library. One, they can add it to the book budget for the current fiscal year. So that's generally what happens. People come in and they want to give $25, $50, $100, and we will use a buy a book form for that particular location. The money has to be spent within that fiscal year, so it doesn't carry over. And a little nameplate will go in with a thanks to or in memory of or whatever it is that the family is interested in. When it's larger than that, the donors have the option of putting the funding in the Friends family of funds for their particular library. So in this case, there is a donation that came in that the staff feels would be more useful long-term for the Crozet Library Fund. It was a $1,000 gift from Robert Hunter. So the bylaws and the regional agreement allow this board to make that, to turn that money over to the CACF, but we do need a motion on that. So rather than try to spend the $1,000 on books this year for Crozet, they would rather have it build over time.
I so moved. That we
There's a potential motion.
can't see that.
I'll do it. I move that the $1,000 gift from the patron Robert Hunter to the Crozet Library be added to the Crozet Library Fund in the Friends of Family of Funds at the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation. Woo-hoo, that's a mouthful.
Well done.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's great. I really need to thank Mr. Hunter. And next item of business, the vote to accept and expend the Friends Endowment and the Library of Virginia funding. I believe this is the funding that we've already received, or is that not true, David?
Yes, that's correct. So the board has been talking about this funding, or at least hearing about it from me for years now, literally, when I went back and looked at it. So the pieces are all in place. These lockers are up and running. I might have Kayla come in at some point to talk to you all about them as we're seeing usage maybe outstrip our capacity even. So we might need to go back to the state for some more help here. But we do need a vote as the funds are coming in. This covers the lockers, some networking equipment, the privacy pod at Louisa, and some digital content. So this was money that the state library granted to JMRL, and then the Friends of the Library also granted funding for 3 of the lockers. And these are 2 separate motions. The budget for this was shared with you all in July of 2021, so there are some new faces here, but we need this in order to get this money moved into the current budget. So there are 2 potential motions here. One is for the state library funding, which was a total of $101,000, $101,459. And then the Friends for the Holds lockers was $37,187. Are there any questions about what's happening here? So as Tony said, this has already happened. This is to have the board bless that we're going to accept this money that came in. We already put out the money in the first place.
Lockers are great.
Have you used one?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. My way through it. Got my
Yeah,
book.
so who'd like to make that first motion for state library funding?
I'll do it. I move that JMRL accept the Library of Virginia's granted allocation from, is it ARPA or ARPA? ARPA funding of $101,459 and authorize the expenditure of that funding, Holds lockers, networking equipment, and downloadable.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Who'd like to make the second one?
Yeah, everybody gets
I'll do it again.
Okay.
Would you like to do it? You haven't done.
Just go on.
Go ahead, Kathy. The honor is yours.
I move that JMRL to the library family of funds granted allocation of $37,187.30 hold for poll lockers and authorize the expenditure of that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to the library director's report.
Okay, since you all have such a short meeting, I've got a long report. I'm happy to report that the elevator is back up and working here at the Northside Library after almost. Special thanks to Lance Stewart, Bill Struthers, and Bruce Jones with Albemarle County for working really diligently on this to make it happen, with much apologies every time it was out of their hands, but finally we've got it back up and running. Just reminding the board of the upcoming holiday schedule. JMRL will be closed beginning on Saturday, the 24th through the 27th. The Central Library won't be open on Sunday, January 1st, and all JMRL will be closed on Monday the 2nd. So some closed holidays in the next few weeks here. The Library of Virginia also provided for interested libraries in the state, hearing assist loops. The first one of these for JMRL is installed at Central, and we have enough to go around the system. So if you're at Central, you can look and see a little sign basically that says this service desk has a hearing assist loop. And it's basically if the patron has a hearing aid and they have T-coil or telecoil enabled on their hearing aid, they can hear the input from a small microphone that sits on the desk. So for staff, it just looks like a little toothpick thing there. But if the patron has this functionality turned on their hearing aid, they can hear directly from the mic into their device there. Many modern devices have that capacity. It's not Bluetooth. It's a different technology that needs to be enabled by an audiologist. So most of the people that I know that have hearing aids, it's an option, but they don't have it turned on. We had a hard time finding somebody to come in and test because it's not that common yet, but it's being more and more widely adopted. We're expecting it won't make a huge impact right away, but it's available for each location. And it's going to make a world of difference for those people that do need it. We're starting to see the tech be adopted in airports, churches, libraries, healthcare facilities. So the first one is up. The rest will be installed by JMRL IT over the next few months. So it's a great accessibility option, but it's gonna require some adoption. Meredith let our library staff know that Canopy, which is JMRL's digital media provider, JMRL is adding a plus subscription packages, which starts soon here, either last week or this week. And those are titles that are credit free. Right now, there's a limit on how many you can check out each month, and there are going to be 300 titles added on a rolling basis where you don't need to use one of your credits to watch them. We are also going to be adding BBC content starting on January 1st. So because of that, the monthly credit allotment is going to be reduced a bit. Currently, it's 10. It's going to go down to 7. Because we're anticipating high demand for the BBC content. It's very popular. That's why she also added the always available 300 that are on there. So if you use it yourself, check that out, especially at the beginning of the new year for BBC content. If you hear anybody saying, I used to get 10, now I get 7, you can explain to them that they have more options available and that there are also some which don't require any credits at all. Okay, also from Meredith, I thought you might be interested to hear the top circulating titles for JMRL for 2022, as you're getting your last minute shopping done. So there are A through M categories here, get ready. In adult fiction, it was Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. Adult nonfiction, it was Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zahner. The top picture book is I Will Take a Nap by Mo Willem. The top adult CD audiobook, so on disc, The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. The top DVD was Belfast. The top adult view on Canopy was Alone Season 3. So I don't know why the first 2 seasons. The top ebook checked out on Libby was The Girl in His Shadow by Audrey Blake. The top young adult fiction was We Are Not Free by Tracy Chi, which was the same page title last year. The top audiobook on Libby was My Monticello by Jocelyn Johnson. The top kids DVD for the year was A Charlie Brown Christmas. So Christmas all year. The top children's view on Canopy was Don't Let the Pigeon Stay Up Late. The top magazine in Libby, remember I discussed last month that now JMRL's magazines online are available in Libby, is The New Yorker. And last but not least, the top kids chapter book was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Ugly Truth by Jennifer. There you go. So I know Jennifer's working on some end of the year kind of reporting out social media, like here's the year and information. That'll be part of it. Okay, also part of the digital migration project that's going on, JMRL's blog got a new facelift. So you can check out that interface at blog.jmrl.org. It looks much better. The content is easier to search there. It's part of an overall revamp of that. And last but not least, there's a functionality that JMRL used to have called freeze holds, which some staff member turned off like 10 years ago. It was me. There were problems with it at the time, but Kayla is venturing forth with it. It's an option where patrons can put a hold on their holds, basically. It comes in handy at this time of year if you were going to go travel and you didn't want your materials to come in while you were gone, and then you would miss them. So say it's something you've been waiting for a while for, you can now freeze it, say I don't want it, and then unfreeze it later. Back. So just a nice little quality of life improvement there. That's all I have to report, though, Tony.
That's it?
Sorry.
Thank you, David. All right. Other matters anybody would like to discuss, bring up to the attention of the board before we close out 2022?
I don't have any matters, but I spoke too quickly about the Rotary Club. I reached out to someone who knew about the book distribution. The Soho Club, or Soho Center, I'm sorry, donates the books to Alabama and Charlottesville kids, and it's a literacy program.
I think Katie's told me about that. Yeah.
So it wasn't Rotary Club.
But it's a similar, as Ginny said,
Yeah.
a lot of organizations can
I
pick
wanna
up
give-
all.
I give due to credit to where credit needs to be done.
Thank you, Kathy. Anything else? What does our first agenda look like for 2023? Well, Policy Committee will not meet till February. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. We will have budget reports, I'm sure.
Yes, budget reports, and we're expecting that we would have the library name working group, a report from a meeting there as well.
Very good. Okay. Do we have any continuing education on the horizon?
There's been some discussion about having Haley Tompkins come to discuss JMRL's training committee and the training initiatives over the last few years. To
Sure,
give the board an update on that.
that'd be great. Okay. I'm sure we can find one or two other things to drop in there. If there isn't anything else, I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor? I'm not even going to ask if anybody's opposed. Okay. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks for everything this year. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Happy
you
New
all.
Year,
so much. Thank you, everybody. Happy end of 2022.
Yeah.
Bye, Lisa. See you soon.
Happy solstice.
And happy.